0 to 6 figures, the first thing is create a high ticket offer.
How do I go create a great landing page? How am I marketing this event? What budget should I be looking at for paid advertising to get traffic here?
97 to 197 is what I recommend on a virtual event. It's enough skin in the game where they'll show up, but it's not a barrier for people to be like, oh, this is too much money.
Year one is all brand new information. They're learning all kinds of stuff. But then year two, why am I going to renew with you if I already learned everything that I need to learn?
Analyze, oh, this is where I'm at right now. This is what's possible. How do I get there?
Welcome back to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez, COO of 5 7 to 8 figure businesses with Ryan Pineda. Today, I have an events expert, and I'm really intrigued to speak with her because we run a lot of events here. We've done, multiple 7 figures over the years at these events, both digital and in person, and we've tried it all. We've done 5-day challenges, we've done the 3-day events, we've done the 1-hour webinars. So Kristen Williams, she's an expert. She's worked with people like Russel Brunson and so many others. So I'm really excited to get this podcast rocking. So Kristen, how do I go from 0 to 6 figures on a digital event?
Yeah, absolutely. So 0 to 6 figures, the first thing that I would tell you to do is create a high ticket offer. That is the fastest path. I see a lot of people, they think that they have to do low ticket offers. But the truth is, if you're doing a low ticket offer, that just means you have to have high volume. And when you're just starting out, you don't have what you need to actually hit high volume. So whenever you're designing an event, it's like you should create a high ticket offer. And I define that as like $10,000 or more. And then sell it through a 3-day event, because that is what I've seen converts highest is having a 3-day event to sell your high ticket offer. And so I love it. Yeah. First thing is create your high ticket offer. Don't be scared. You can charge $10,000. There's a strategy to do so.
And let's start there too, and I love that you said that, because that's exactly what we tell our clients and our students to do as well. The hot thing right now is like these $97 a month communities, and we have one too. So don't get me wrong, but we started with our high ticket offer. So initially we had a $25,000 offer, then we had a $10,000 offer, but we started really high ticket because, just like you said, if you don't have a big audience, you're going to waste it with somebody who pays $97 or $100, $500, $1,000, and they probably would have spent $10,000 or $25,000 if you would have had the right offer. So when you're helping your clients build out an offer, what does that look like? Like, what are the things that I need in my offer in order for it to be a successful sale?
Yeah. So, I've been behind the scenes on a lot of offers. And what I saw when I was working with all of these different experts was that there were really 4 things that they were including. And so the very first thing is content. They have some type of framework, because the most important thing is people are coming to you with a problem and they want a solution. So how do you get them from A to C or A to B? And so the first thing is a framework that actually gets them the result. And that's can be like a course. It can be just a framework if you have it, but something like that can actually get them to that result. But the second thing that they're including is community. And so some sort of way to get people connected to each other, a like-minded community. And that could be like a Facebook group or a WhatsApp thread. But people really like to have a community. And I always say people don't buy for community, but they renew and they stay and they recruit other people for community. So it's super important, for that. And then the next piece is they want access. And so they want some sort of access, because it's not enough just to give a course. People are going to have questions. They're going to get stuck. And so having laser coaching sessions or Q&A sessions, then that is a way that people can have access and they feel like they have that little bit of hand-holding they need. And group coaching is amazing to have just Q&As, because people learn so much by just other questions people are asking. And then the fourth one is accountability. Great offers have accountability in them, because people left to their own devices, they're not going to do the work, or they just need that little bit of push. And especially, I find a lot of entrepreneurs, when we get started, we are high achievers, and nobody wants to be the bad person in the group not doing the work. So having these type of accountability groups where they show up and it's like, what work did you get done, and homework and things like that, really make up a really great high ticket offer. And so always accountability, content, community, and access are the 4 things that I see that people put into a high ticket offer that allows them to charge more without actually creating more content.
Yeah, which is so good. And so when I'm looking to create my offer, right, like what level of framework or course do I really need to be creating? Like, can I do something that's bare bones and then get away with, the Q&A and the live stuff really being the meat of the program? Or like, should I really focus on just the course aspect?
Yeah, so if you don't have a course, you don't have to go create a course, because what you can do is you can live launch this like framework. And so you don't have to actually go and pre-record a course and create like put it in Kajabi and all of that. You can actually have workshops. Like there's different ways you can deliver your content. The point is you just have to have some type of framework, some type of content, and some type of result that you're delivering. And so if you're just starting out and you're like, great, now I have to create a course and then I can create my high ticket offer. No, you can literally design your high ticket offer, know your framework, know the result that you're going to get somebody, and then you're selling that result and you're selling that solution. And then you just do it live. Like you don't actually have to sit there and spend all the effort and all the time in creating an offer that, one, you don't even know if it's going to convert or not yet. So why are you spending so much energy creating something before you even know it's going to sell?
1,000%. And that's that's how we launch every single one of our products. All of our, like, whenever we do a new offer or a new thing, we do like our beta test, so to speak. We're testing the market. We're seeing if people are even interested in the thing that we're selling before we go put in all of this effort and all these frameworks around the actual product and making it better down the road. So I love that you said that, because I think you just got to test the market first. So with that being said, once I have my offer, how can I now go test the market and see if
Mm.
it's actually going to stick?
Yeah. So the way that you design your event is actually a taste of your offer. And so whenever I design an event, I'm literally looking at your offer first. What are you selling? What are the modules? And you don't have to know exactly what you're going to teach, but you have to know kind of the outcome of each module and a little bit of the tactics inside of it. So that what you're doing at your event is you are teaching a little bit, not all of it. It's really kind of like what it's not the how, but it's the what, and getting them to see that. And then if your event doesn't convert, it means your offer is not, like, it means they didn't like your offer. Because really the idea of an event when you design it this way is they're tasting your offer so that they naturally, when you make the pitch, it's just literally, did you love what you experienced at the event these 3 days? Then you're gonna love a whole year with me, because you're actually experiencing the offer. And so it's a great way to not feel salesy, because you're literally saying, did you love what you experienced? It's like the Costco effect. It's like, do you like the cheese? Now buy the whole wheel of cheese.
I love it.
Yeah.
And why 3 days?
That's such a great question. So a lot of people think they should start off with one day because they think one day it's easier, right? But the reality is you have so much more forgiveness if you do a 3 day event, because you spend all day, like day one is all about content, connection, community. It's just delivering amazing content.
And really, really quick. So walk me through. So 3 days for these events. What's the like length of each day? And you're already getting to it, but like what goes into each one of those days?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll speak of a virtual event just for this one, but you can see the duration is very similar. So in a virtual event, we do 11 to about 7 or 8 o'clock. So it's a long day. Yeah, you do 11 because you want to allow for everybody, because Pacific, like all the like the West Coast, to catch up. So that's why 11 o'clock to 7. And it's all about content, connection, and community. And so it's delivering amazing content where really they could walk away and feel their time was well invested, but they want to come back, and the money they spent for the ticket was well spent. Like they don't have any regret, but they're excited and ready to come back for more. And then the other piece is getting them connected. But what's really important about getting them connected is, one, getting connected to the host as the expert. But more importantly, there's a piece of us that we have to get connected to this bigger vision that you can do more, be more, make more, and have and create this vision that you're future casting for them. Because I find that there's two beliefs that you have to overcome in a virtual event. And the first one is the belief in you as the expert that you can get the result. But the one that a lot of people don't realize is the belief in themselves. Because, especially, and I know you know this because you help new entrepreneurs as well, they don't believe that they can do it. They don't know if it's possible. And so you have to get them there. And a 3 day event gives you the time, it gives you the immersion to do so. So that's day one. And then, community. You want to show them that there's a like minded community, that they're not alone, that they're not a unique snowflake. So that's day one.
Got
And
it. So day one is all just really, and we've seen this too. Whenever we run our events, like if we do a 3 day, exactly the same thing. It's like you have to get them to believe in not only the product, but more importantly themselves.
Yes.
Because with all coaching, there's an element of yeah, just overall belief that they can do the thing or they can achieve the end result, right?
Mhm.
So that's one of the biggest challenges that I've just seen with anyone who starts these coaching programs. It's when you're speaking to a prospect, number one, you got to get them to believe in the product, but number two, you got to get them to believe in themselves, which is a tough thing to do. So before we get to day two, what strategies can you implement or can somebody do during that day one process to help somebody believe in themselves or to a prospect to believe in themselves?
Yeah. So the very first session, you're hitting with mindset. So the very first session, you're one, getting them connected in like you as the host and your why, but getting them connected in their why. Because if they don't know their why, like you have to have some type of driver, especially in this entrepreneurial world. It's like if you don't believe in your why enough and you're not clear on your why, you're not going to stay committed and do the actual hard work. So that's the very first session. And then the second session is really showing that framework and what is possible. But another thing that I love doing is what I call moments of inspirations. And those are like students who actually get on stage with you and they tell what I call the hero's journey, which is really just telling their story of what their life looked like before, what action they took, and what it looks like now on the other side. And then they introduce the host to the stage. And I find this to be one of the most important things because it's easy for an attendee to sit there and say, well, of course, so and so can do it. Like the expert on stage can do it because they don't see, like, they can't see where you started, right? And so it's easy, well, of course. And so that's why it's so important to have these testimonials sprinkled throughout your program to really set the tone and really help them realize that just these people were in your seat a year ago and they didn't know that they could do it and they overcame their objections because we can get into this later, but there's 5 objections that I believe everybody falls into. And so it's really important that you're seeding those objections from the get-go in your testimonials. And so that's really important to let them see that they can do it by showing them people just like them that are getting the result.
Okay, sweet. So then you go through, we have our testimonials, and then what's next for day one?
Yeah, day one. So it's more framework. So you want to show exactly how you can get them the results. So it's just teaching a little bit, and then love doing at the very end a like Q&A or VIP reception that for the people who purchase VIP, having that little bit of community and connection piece. And then like something that I love is just future casting. So for example, like I had a client who does more like self improvement. And so we had like a vision board session where the very last session of the day was what do you want your life to look like? And paint that picture because what you want to do is you want to get them connected and really visually see what that life can look like so that there's a little bit of a gap analysis where they analyze, oh, this is where I'm at right now. This is what's possible. How do I get there? And then when we get to day 2, we give them the how do you get there? And we can talk about that in just a second. But I think it's so important to paint that picture and have them paint that picture and really get connected to that vision. And by
Love
doing
that.
picture,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's so good. And you mentioned something too with the VIP sessions. That's something that we've done in the past too. And I do want to get to like kind of landing pages and kind of what it looks like from the front end.
Mhm.
But before we do that, what's the benefit of creating this VIP session or having like this separate group within the main 3 day event?
Yeah. So we find that VIPs convert at a higher rate because they're your best buyers. So having that little bit of extra time with them just gets them more connected. It gets them the access. It gets them the ability to ask questions where they get to see, oh, wow, like this is like literally 5 minutes of the host time. Imagine a whole year of this. Like I need this kind of support. And so it really sets up the offer because your offer, again, should have access included. And so when you give VIP access and you give VIP questions, then it allows them to actually taste the offer so that they're like, oh my God, of course I want this. Like I got this result just out of a hour-long VIP session. I'm definitely going to get more results in a year. So we find that they convert at a higher rate because they're just your best buyers and they're already willing to spend money to have more access.
Got it. And then quick pivot. So on the front end, is this like typically do you do free events or are we
Mhm.
charging for the GA? And then how much are we typically charging for VIP?
Yes. So I do not believe in a free event. So for a 3 day events, I believe in charging, and the reason why is free does not convert as well as a as well as a paid event. They also don't show up, and so you're spending all of this money because there's a strategy to get them to show up, and you do spend a little money on that. We send swag because we want a knock on their door where they feel like there's a physical reminder that they have an event, and it's not a live stream, it's not a webinar, it's not a challenge, especially how noisy, the event space is. People don't understand the difference between a virtual event and a webinar, so you're sending swag to do so. So free, I don't believe in. I find that free converts around 15%, where if you, not 15%, around 10%, 5 to 10% actually. And then a virtual event can, on the lower end, 12%, on the higher end, 15 to 18%. And your actual attendance is like 20%. I'm throwing a lot of percentages out, but
Oh, you're right. But it's pretty on
um,
par with what we see too. So I like
oh,
it.
perfect. But that free you show up is about 20%. Where if you do paid and you do the way where you actually send swag and you do show up strategy, 85% show up. And so
Wow.
it's better to get people who have skin in the game because they're going to convert better than free because they have more skin in the game. They're willing to pay. And so they're more of your right fit client versus people who don't. And so it just ends up converting and you end up making money instead of losing money. At
Yep,
least
exactly. And so you make some money in the front end. And so what typical price point are you coming in at? I know obviously it depends offer to offer, but just on average, like what's like an entry level, like what's the GA price? Then what are you charging for VIP in the upsell?
yes. So 97 to 197 is what I recommend on a virtual event for a GA. And the
Mhm.
reason why is because it's enough skin in the game where they'll show up, but it's not a barrier for people to be like, oh, this is too much money. I mean, for some people it is, yes, but for the majority of people, we find that 97 is that sweet spot where they're not like, I can't afford to come to this event. And then we find that it actually converts higher into the high ticket offer. And then for the VIP, around 197 to 497 is really the sweet spot there. And I would like if you're just doing your first event, I would do 97 for your general admission and 197. Those are really I think the ones to go with, especially if you're just starting out.
Perfect. And then are there any additional order bumps or anything else that you're doing in the funnel? Like, are you giving away any like free recordings or are you selling those? Are you, some people do like PDFs and other things that like to bundle in. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, so you have to be careful with what you're giving away to like the order bump because you don't want it to conflict with your offer. So you don't want to give them so much value and like a course or just some type of, I think PDF is probably fine, but like I see some, like I've had a client who had a whole course that they delivered, and people, one, they don't watch the course before, and so whenever they make the offer, they're like, oh, but I have this other thing that I haven't done yet. So I'm going to do that before I actually buy your high ticket offer. And so found that like what we found is the VIP, we give away the 2 bonus Q&A sessions. And then we can have like a VIP reception on night 1 or even night 0. And then event recordings we do give away. But the thing that we say is we don't give it away until 30 to 60 days after because you don't want people to opt into not going to the event because they think they can just catch the recordings. Because most people won't actually listen to the recording. They'll say they're going to do it and they don't. So that's why I say 30 to 60 days after.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, I have a lot of questions on like our landing pages and kind of front end stuff, but let's knock out the next 2 days
Oh
and we'll
yeah.
get back to it. So,
Okay.
so, so, so day two. I wake up. It's 11 o'clock. I'm ready to go. What should I expect?
Yes. So the theme of that day is pain, solution, and invitation. And what that means is not that they actually get into, like, we're putting them into pain, but we did a whole gap analysis piece the day before where there's a little bit of pain of where they can see where they want to go, they see where they're at, but they don't know how to get there. And so we're still showing them the tactics to get there. But we find that halfway through the program, so we make the offer halfway through the program. So the very first session to go back is mindset because you have to mindset is so important. So the very first session is you got to hit them back with the mindset, make sure they're ready to go into the day. And then the second session is just more of your content, your framework. And then the third session is actually what we call the show the money, show the result. And so you want to actually show them what could be possible. And then you go into the offer session. And the
Got
reason,
it. To be clear, so you're saying that you don't even pitch the offer until day three?
day two, halfway
Day
through
two.
the
Day two.
day
Got it.
two.
Okay. Halfway through day two. Got it.
Yeah, halfway through, because people go from I'm so excited, I have so many like ideas, to I have so many action items, I don't know where to start. And what we found is there's two different buyer types. You have emotional buyers and you have logical buyers. So if you don't want to make the offer on day one because it's too early, you want to warm them up. Day two, you don't want to wait till day three because you have logical buyers who they need a little more time. They have their spouse that they have to go talk to or their business partner. And so we always make it about halfway through on day two because that's that sweet spot where they're like, I've had enough content. I have so many action items, but how do I actually go and get started? I can see Monday is right around the corner. The event's almost over. What am I going to do differently? Because if I don't have a plan for Monday, then you don't have a plan at all. And so that's really where the offer comes in. And then we close out with a laser coaching session that's designed to show access. So, like, imagine this is only 15 minutes of the host time. Imagine a whole year of being in this room and getting this type of support.
Got
So,
it. And you mentioned also, Monday's right around the corner. So is the optimal days Friday, Saturday, Sunday for what you've seen, or are we doing that doesn't really matter?
yeah, it doesn't really matter. I would say most events that you do, though, are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I love the whole if you don't have a plan for Monday, you don't have a plan at all, as a call to action, as like the last session on day three, because that's like your wrap up session, which I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Um, but it just works so nicely. But you can still, so it's just there's a really good ring to it. But you can have an event on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think it just really depends on your clientele. Are they moms where they need to they have to arrange babysitting and like there's just all those logistics that go into it and they can't take off weekends, but they're entrepreneurs who could take off during the week. Like they have a sitter for that. So it's just like, what are your logistics for your clients? And that's kind of figuring out like your pattern.
Yeah, which makes sense. And then so whenever we do like some of our like more entry level programs, we typically try to do the weekend thing. Yeah, so we don't work weekends, but we do try to do like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mhm.
Um, but whenever we do like our higher ticket stuff, we can typically go during the week. Just because like with our like $25,000 program, these people are already like business owners, entrepreneurs, like they get it, and they're typically like they can block off their schedule and all that good stuff. So. Um, that makes sense. And with so what like are you guys doing anything for urgency? So like how do you get somebody to convert? And then before I ask that question, the other question that I had was what percentage of people buy right off the bat day two? And
Mhm.
then how many like what are you doing cleanup wise? So like is it like 25% buy on day two and then the rest 75, or how does that break down?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting because it's so different in virtual than in person. So whenever I was doing, so I'll talk about urgency real quick, and then I'll go into the numbers. Do you want me to do day three real quick so
Yeah,
that,
please. Yeah,
and then
so I got all
yeah,
these questions, so keep it rolling.
I was like, let me do day, yeah. So day three is all about decision, commitment, and celebration. And so really what we're trying to do is the offer is out. And you know what happens when the offer is out? People are in their mind and they are thinking, well, can I do this? Can I afford to do this? Is my wife going to be on board? All of those objections, right? And so you have to have content designed to overcome those objections. And so the very first session is the repitch session. And there's a whole strategy of that session that I can get to when that goes into urgency. But really, that session is one designed to get the offer back on the table because they go to bed, and so you have to remind them, hey, there's an offer. But there's also the balance of you don't want them to be in sales tension the whole time, like for the rest of the event, right? So we really look at it as three sessions, and so that repitch session is designed to get the offer back on the table. And then there's an overcoming objections piece where you teach content it's really meta, where it's like these are the objections that I see in my business, and this is how you teach them how to overcome objections. And so you're overcoming their objections while you're teaching overcoming objections. And so
I
that's
love
content, yeah, that you do on day
that.
three, session one.
Mhm.
Um, and then you go into the second session, and the second session is designed to be like if you have like a speaker bonus or something like that in your program, then putting that there to help like kind of remind them. It's like, oh, did you love so and so? Then this person's actually included in the offer. So sometimes we do that. And then you have what we call a welcome lunch, which is for the new buyers. And that goes back to urgency. So I'll talk more about that in a second. And then the third session is the wrap up session, where we end with that call to action. If you don't have a plan for Monday, then you don't have a plan for at all. Or if you just don't have a plan for whatever your next day is, then you don't have a plan at all. So that's day 3. And
And
then
then VIP session, are you just like straight up pitching in VIP at that point, or are we still trying to give them value?
So VIP, we only do day 1 and day 2. We don't do the day 3 because day 3 there is a dedicated lunch called a welcome lunch that is for new buyers, and that speaks to the urgency piece because you want to have some type of call to action where people realize that they have to make a decision, and nobody wants to miss a party. So having a welcome celebration, if it's virtual, we say welcome celebration because you're not feeding them lunch. It came from in-person events, like where you could actually use the urgency of there is a chef that has to cook your meal. So we have to know if you're joining us or not. And that was the call to action to get people who were on the fence over the fence. And so
Why a lunch versus a dinner?
mhm.
There's logic there.
Yeah, because the end of the event, it's like it's over, so you don't have any more that you can repitch, right? And so we end around like 3, 4 o'clock. And so the lunch was just a really good way because most people have to fly out. So it comes from in person events. And so with
Mm.
in person events, people are leaving. And especially even on the last day in virtual, you see a huge drop off. So waiting until the end of the event, you already have people not planning to be there. So that's why we opted into a lunch because it came from in person events. And then so virtual, we just moved it over. And we find that most people drop off by the end of the event. So just keeping it there in that lunch spot. And then there's a whole strategy of post event follow up that virtual allows you to do that wasn't a thing for in person, which now I'm like, there you can actually use it for both. But it was kind of like the happy accident that we found was post event follow up campaigns.
What does that look like for a post event follow up?
Yeah, so it's a series of emails. So what really is cool about virtual is you don't have like the ballroom, right? So whenever you have an in-person event, there's actually a person there that has to take the order form because it's usually a physical order form. Well, when the door closes and the team's gone, the sales are closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for virtual, they go to what we call, like, we use a dashboard. So it's like a membership portal, and there's a button that appears on the dashboard. That button doesn't go away. So that order form sales page is up. And so people, even like, you'll wake up the next night and you have sales. And so having an email like that has a countdown timer on it that's like, reminder, the bonuses go away and this is what's included. And then we even open up cart again the next day. And that was like, a lot of you were asking if you could still get into the program. We still actually are accepting, this isn't great copy, but accepting enrollments. And so we email them like we have a 7-day follow-up campaign like you would do in a launch, instead of it, like, it didn't make sense for in person because the event ended. But with virtual, it's like it just continues. And then we have an open office hours that's just like a lot of you are asking questions. So we're going to host an open open Q&A where if you have questions about the offer specifically, then you can come and visit us and XYZ. And then they go into a Zoom room and they can ask questions. And I literally have a client that did this strategy and increased his overall sales by 36%. So that is, the magic in post-event follow-up that you didn't have in person, which now you can still kind of take that same strategy now that we know it works. But it really was birthed out of virtual.
And a lot of your clients, they don't even have sales teams, right? So there's like one to maybe like one person operations essentially, right?
So most of them, they don't have a sales team, but they do have a team. But what's really great about the structure of these events is if you do the selling right from stage and you design the content in the way that you're that is the taste of the offer, and you overcome objections on the stage, you don't need a sales team to overcome objections. You do need a sales team that can answer questions because you have logical buyers. So you need somebody there that can answer, what are the dates? What if I miss a date? Like, there's some questions there that you have to answer, but it's not like where you have to pull teeth to try to get somebody over the fence. Like, it's really done. The heavy lifting is done through the event.
Love it. And what are you mentioned, bundles and a few things. Like, what are your thoughts between, discounts versus bundling?
Mm. So when you say bundling, like, do you
So
mean
typically, like,
multiple
so
offers?
I'll speak to us, for example, right? So we hate discounting, as a way for somebody to move forward at the event, right? Because I know with Russell, once the event's over, there's no way to get back into the program, right? Or to like get the offer. With us, we have coaching all year round, so people can join whenever, right? And so in order to get somebody to move forward on our event or during our thing. Um, I guess there's really two ways. There's a lot of different ways, but with urgency, it's typically people are offering discounts,
Mm-hmm.
or hey, there's some sort of extra thing that you're gonna get by joining and moving forward today, right? So us personally, we always try to like add more value. So we have a trip to Cancun coming up. So hey, like you get a ticket to that, or there's an extra bonus day. Previously when we've done our software launches, we've done hey, we're going to do a live software implementation right after this. So things along those lines. So what are your thoughts? I mean, like, should I just take if I'm selling a 10K product, should I drop it to like 8K to get them to move forward or what?
No. So I agree with you. Like, I think the whole discounting thing, like, is a strategy that's overused in some ways. And like, I think if somebody's going to pay 8,000, they're going to pay 10,000. So why are you going to discount it, right? And so bonuses, like to your point, is the way to go. Like really good bonuses that are going to make people feel like, oh, I can't miss this. Like a trip to Cancun. Like, yes, I want to go to Cancun, right? Like that is a good bonus. And so I think it's more important in adding in like 3 to 4 bonuses that are event only bonuses. And these bonuses will go away at the end of the event. This is an event only special offer, and really making sure that's clear. And then the other piece, and so with the urgency, and you have the welcome lunch on day 3. And then you also have, so like Russell does this where he does a photo op on like after the offer is out. And for some people, like, I mean, that won't work, but for like Russell, it works really well because he has that celebrity status. And it's for those buyers that are really emotional. They're going to go ahead and just be all in and go. And so things like that can help. But I find that bonuses and having really intriguing bonuses that make sense. And I think the other thing with bonuses is it's not a bonus that people are going to like, well, why isn't this in the program? So it has to be a bonus that complements the offer, doesn't leave somebody thinking, well, shouldn't this be included in your offer? So you have to be really strategic on what you're actually offering as a bonus.
That makes sense. So talk to me about these 5 objections that you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. So time, money, shame, self doubt, and spouse are the 5 objections that we see that people fall into.
Got it. And so how would I like the Spark Notes version of how do I overcome each one of these objections?
Oh God, that's so. I'm not great at role playing. But I mean, I think time is really like, when are you going to get the time? Like, if you don't have time today, how are you going to make the time? So really making the case there. And the other thing is, you really have to figure out where they are on the continuum of how much time do they not have, because there is it in how much money do they not have. And so, like, you have to actually figure that out before you can, give them the right solution, because there's a difference in, like, I'm a person who I have 3 full-time jobs and I have 3 kids at home, and a person that just is an entrepreneur and maybe they live at home, like they're by themselves, but they feel like they have all of these things. That's a different conversation, because if you're an entrepreneur, then you have to actually figure out how you're going to make more time, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to make more time. So what are you going to do? Because my program actually makes you more time, because you're not reinventing the wheel anymore. So that's kind of how you handle time. And then money, there is a difference between, I'm not going to be able to put a roof over my head for the day, or I'm not going to be able to, I may have to move some money around. And that's just, how invested are you in your future? Like, that really comes down to that. And what are the resources? Like, instead of like thinking you don't have the resources, how can you get resourceful, is a big conversation that you have to have there. Because a lot of people, they have a bunch of stuff in their home that they could sell, or I mean, they could Uber, like there's things that you can do to make money. If you
Yeah.
really, really want it and you're that committed, you can go wait tables. Like, you can make quick cash. So there's a way. Is you just have to think creative, and you have to be willing to do the hard work. And so it's a conversation about really getting them to see, like, how invested are you in it, getting the
Mhm.
result. And then the next one is spouse. Spouse is really one that you have to be delicate about because you're going into someone's home. Um, but I think that one is a lot of people don't know how to have a conversation about support. They go and ask their spouse for permission. So you have to really get them to see how can you ask for support and go to that conversation with certainty. Because a lot of times, if your spouse isn't on board, and I'm not married, so this is just, I've been trained. um, yeah, I had an amazing mentor, so I've been trained on these objections. But the spouse piece, it really comes from like, I mean, I have a, I think about going to my mom, for example. Like, I have to be more certain in this vision than I am in like anything else, because if not, they're going to like be able to sense that. And the other thing is, like, you find that a lot of people go to their spouse and they're like, well, they had this idea and this idea and this coaching program, and they find that it's like, well, you said this last time. And so you have to actually go to that conversation with the certainty, like, this is it. And I know I've said it before, but this is really it. And how can you get your spouse on board and to see through that lens versus the lens that they're used to seeing from, which was that uncertainty and that not actually delivering the result? Because I think that's the piece of how do you ask for support, not permission. And you go in with certainty there. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. You're
Yeah, no,
married. What do you think? I think I saw a ring.
no, yeah. So you're right. Well, that and it's tough with the spouse objection, and because typically, like for me, my spouse, like sh- she believes because like I have a track record of success. Like
Mhm.
it's tougher when like you said, hey, I'm going to try this coaching program. Hey, I spent 5,000 here. Now I want to spend another 5,000. And so what I always try to do is like to get the buy-in is like we have a sales team. So a lot of the time if we're running one of these events, our sales team's reaching out ahead of the event to like figure out what they're like what objections they're going to have, what issues they're going to run into, and we just try to get the spouse on the event as well, just to mitigate that so they can see it for themselves, and that way it's a lot easier to get the buy-in.
Yeah.
And that's one of our, I think, unique advantages too, is we have post-event follow-up for everything because we have, obviously we can automate it with email and text and sending out a lot of information, but our team could reach out to every attendee and say, hey, what do you think? Did you enjoy it? And then eventually go in for that upsell. So that's what's been helpful for us too, which I love. And so pivoting now, obviously we can create this great event,
Hmm.
but we got to get people to show up.
Hmm.
So on the front end, how do I go create, a great landing page? How am I marketing this event? What budget should I be looking at for paid advertising to get traffic here? So speak to a few of those things for me.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not really on in the front end. I'm more in
Mhm.
the back end. But I can tell you what I've seen works really well, and that's challenge to event. A lot of people do free challenge to event. They
Mhm.
do the 3 day to 5 day model, and they're selling the event ticket, or webinar to event is a very big one.
Oh, got it. Okay, so what a lot of people are doing is they're going to go do a free 3-day challenge, call it, and then the call to action there is now the event to go sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
Just
it.
because there's not that barrier, because it's free, it's low cost, low entry. You get volume in, and then you can sell them into your actual event. So that is something that a lot of people are doing. And then, of course, webinars. I'm sure you've seen that, where people sell
Mhm.
the event ticket. And then, of course, some people run ads. I do think that it's better sometimes to do a challenge before, depending on your price point, because it's harder to get someone off like cold traffic from, like, I mean, 97, you should be fine. But when you go a little higher, it may be harder to get someone enrolled into actually going into your buying your event ticket. And so that's why I've seen a lot of webinars and master classes as the main strategy to fill it.
Yeah, which is a great route to take. Yeah, because it's like you said, even for us, I mean, we have a decent sized brand in like the education and info space. If we're gonna if we're trying to go direct to a 97 or a 197 thing, it can be difficult, just from like an ad cost perspective. So a lot of the things that we do, I mean, you mentioned, you don't like free, and I agree to an extent, right? So for example, like our WealthCon events, where we'll have. Typically, we do them every quarter. We'll have about 1,000 people here in Las Vegas. Those, of course, are all paid, right? We couldn't run it any other way, right? Where it's like on the low end, it's a $500 ticket all the way up to like $10,000, depending on, what ticket tier they buy. And then we do, the same upsells and all that good stuff. But for virtual, we almost always run free these days, which is funny. But for us, I mean, it works. I think it's more so a time restraint. I think we would have better conversions if we did do like a full 3-day event. But for us, we really just focus on, the 1 to 2 hour event webinar type things. And that's really been like our main focus for the last, I don't know, year. But the goal is then to sell them into an in-person event here. And then once we have them here, it's a 1-day workshop, and like we'll convert on those typically.
Yeah.
And
Well, I would ask you, why not the virtual event if you know that you can get people in? Like, because I feel like if the goal is you want to get them into your high ticket offer, and so when you actually have a 3-day virtual event, you get them in. You can actually even make multiple offers at a 3-day event. We can talk, because I would love to know more about like your different price points. But in a virtual event, you can do like your all roads lead to. Usually that's like 10 to
yeah,
15,000. And then you have like a mastermind that's higher. In a virtual event, you can actually anchor down, like price anchor that and get people into that. There's a whole strategy. So I'm just curious, why not virtual events to sell the high ticket offer?
we're lazy. No, but the main thing is, so like our whole model right now, it's get them into our low ticket community, which is $97, right? That has everybody in it, and if we can get free leads, essentially. So the way we do this is we run a $3 funnel, and that's like our main funnel right now. So they get access to all kinds of crazy stuff. So they get access to they get a 7-day free trial of like our main community. They get both of our books. So it's a house flipping book. It's a mindset book. They get access to some of our softwares, one of our workshops, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? For
That's a
free.
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but
97.
it's just, we want to make it an irresistible offer. Then
Yeah.
from there, maybe about half end up joining the $97 community, right?
Mhm.
So make money there. Then we're running weekly webinars within the group and within the community now to then ascend and upsell into our $10,000 or our $25,000 coaching. We have agency offer. So there's a lot of like different things that our team now can sell. But our goal is just like blow them away with value, kind of what you see here, but
Yeah.
we can just do it over a longer period of time.
Mhm.
Because once they're in our community, then at that point, like they get to go through the courses, see the coaching calls. So it's like for us, it's like a 3-day event, but like way longer because now they're getting indoctrinated into like everything that we do, and now they know, like, and trust us more. I still think though, like the event model works, and we still like what we're gonna do. We're probably gonna do a virtual wealth con at some point. We've been talking about it, and
Mhm.
once we do, like, we're gonna do that, like pretty much the exact same framework that you talked about.
Yeah.
3-day event, big call to action at the, day 2, and then clean up and close out. But that's part. So the main reason why it's just we can only focus on so many things,
Yeah.
and this one funnel is like the one that's working the best for us,
Yes.
with
You're
where
gonna
we're
stick
at
to
today.
that one. Yeah.
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 But again, like I said, I would only recommend that once you've exhausted like the other tiers of things first. So like we talked about in the beginning, like start as high ticket as you possibly can. So for us, it was 25K. Obviously, but 10K I think would be the minimum. And so with your clients, when they're building out, their offer, how do you help them figure out pricing structure? Like, I know you mentioned 10K is kind of the minimum, but like, how do you help them figure out what the magic number is?
Yeah, so I think it's also looking at all the offers around it, because you have to be clear on the deliverables in every single offer and making sure that it makes sense. Like, you don't want something that's just a couple of deliverables more and only $2,000 more, because then people will just opt in to actually doing the thing that's lower end. So it's looking at what's around your actual high ticket offer, and I think $10,000 is the minimum when you're first starting out. But really, what I've seen is kind of like 15, like that whole 14,997 type of thing, and then the 25,000. And so it really depends on how comfortable you are in charging too. It's like when you're first starting out, I think even $10,000 is a stretch for a lot of people. And so part of what I have to do, like what I found, I just started my business, is really getting people to really see that you can charge $10,000. And so like right now, that's where I am with my clients is like, I mean, I have one, like most of my clients that I'm working with my one-to-one, it's very like they're already, I'm blanking on the word, but established.
You're already selling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so they kind of already have their offers and their frameworks, and it's more on how do you scale them. And with this new, like my new audience that I'm working on, which is very slow burn right now, but I'm finding that trying to get them to believe that they can even charge 10,000, that they, because a lot of them have a course and they have like $1,000 course or a $2,000 course, and they're like, well, I don't see how I can go from 2,000 to 10,000. But if you look at the actual model, if you look at what a lot of people are doing, is they have their low, like they have their free thing that they're giving away, and then they have their low ticket offer, and usually that is something around like it's your course, and it's about 1,000 to 2,000. So I use industry averages, like that's what I've seen behind the scenes that
Yeah.
really work.
That's on par.
Yeah. And then $10,000 is that high ticket offer. And so for my, like the people I'm working with that's new, it's just you, if you have a framework, you just need to layer in those four things we talked about, and then you can charge 10,000. It's just really believing that you can actually charge that much is
For
the,
sure. And I
yeah.
think it's a big jump, but people need to understand their worth, and people pay for implementation. I think that's like the biggest thing that we see. And so it does align with what you were talking about with your four key things to an offer. But I think the biggest one for us is people just want to know that they have somebody they can talk to when they encounter some sort of problem.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the group coaching and the accountability and the community that you mentioned is super important. And that's how we kind of stumbled into this. So way back in 2020, we were doing events just as a piece of fulfillment for our students, right? So we would do quarterly masterminds, and then eventually they just got bigger and bigger, and then we started charging tickets for it. And then out of nowhere, 4 years later, now we're doing, these big WealthCon events and everything else that we do. But it was just because it was a cornerstone of what we were doing fulfillment wise with the community. Because like you said, people, they build relationships. In our situation, they start doing real estate deals together. They start, just partnering and thinking about business ventures. And it's so the core, like I think as the more that you can do to build a community within your offer, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing with information and just being in the coaching and info space, unless you're doing things for them, it's diminishing returns as far as education goes. So year one, it's all brand new information. They're learning all kinds of stuff. But then year two, why am I going to renew with you if I
Yes.
already learned everything that I need to learn? Either number one, you're going to have to like build out a really, really good community that's really going to help them grow and scale. Or two, it has to be a done for you offer. Is the big thing that you're really going to have to focus on.
The other thing that I find in some of the best offers is they have an ascension path. And so it's like once you hit this certain number, then you're in this new layer of it. And so, like, for example, I told you, like, my vision is a Zoom to six figures, but my future vision for this company is it's Zoom to six figures is one layer, then it's Zoom to seven figures, and then maybe one day it's Zoom to eight figures. But there is an ascension path to get them there. And so when you're designing an offer and you're thinking about long term and you're thinking about how do I get people into my world and stay in my world, community is a big piece because, like I said earlier, people stay for community, they renew, and they recruit for community. But the other piece and strategic thing that you can do is how do you create an ascension plan within your one offer to get people to work their way up and feel like they hit this milestone and there's somewhere to go. And then when you when you get to that and you have nothing else to teach, how do you create a mastermind of all these high level people? So you're not even the one teaching anymore. You're actually bringing in really like everybody is an established entrepreneur that you're like, I just want to be in the room with these people and learn from these people. And so like how do you actually like from the start build a business that has that ascension pathway versus actually just focusing on one offer. And that's something that I like teach, and it's called the product pathway, which is what is your actual vision for this company, and then let's reverse engineer from the free stuff so that you actually have an ascension path. And maybe you don't start with that 25K or that mastermind, but you know that's where you're headed, and everybody that you're sending through your ascension path is the person that is supposed to move up. And so it's just more access and more education that they need to get the result. So you just
Yeah,
remind
no, you're 100% correct, and that's how we run it. So we have like our rookie, which is just hey, help you get your first real estate deal on the real estate side. We have business coaching, and then we have content coaching as well, but like our bread and butter is real estate. So it's like, hey, get your first real estate deal. Then we have our $25,000 mastermind, like you said, where it's because at that point they need the network, they need community. We do teach them some higher level stuff, how to go buy bigger deals and et cetera. But really, that's where they're going to get like just more networking with higher level people.
Yeah.
Then we do have like one-on-one with like either myself, Ryan, or somebody along those lines. And that can, that gets pricey with Ryan. But the other side of it, and the thing that we're really focused on moving forward, is what services are they going to need as well?
Mm.
Because that's reoccurring revenue. Because the way we look at education, it's a cash business, right? It's not number one, it's not very sellable. But number two is you have to continue to keep on getting new people in and ascending new people. Otherwise, the business dies pretty quickly, right? So
Yeah.
how can we get them services that they're going to need within their business to help them be successful? So that's where we rolled out. We have a CRM. We have a deal finding software. And at the highest
Mm.
level, we actually have an agency where we'll just generate leads for them, right? So that's kind of like once they get to the highest level, they can afford it because then you got to have ad spend and all this other stuff. But one thing that I think is important for entrepreneurs to think about, especially in this coaching space, really, if you really boil it down, education is like your lead magnet.
Right.
Obviously, it's a very expensive lead magnet, but you get them in the door, and then how else can you service them and provide enough value where they're going to get the services that they need to go run their business?
Yeah, I love that frame. I've never thought of it from that lens, and it's interesting because I have my done for you, and that's where I started. Was my high ticket done for you, and I'm like, if I can get people to ascend, then I know they're going to want someone to actually do it for them. Eventually, I'll have a team that does it for them. But like that'll always be a piece of my business because I know somebody's always going to. Nobody wants to do the logistics. Nobody wants to plan the event themselves, and so always having that as my higher ticket thing, but I never thought of it from the way education is the lead magnet. That's such an interesting turn on it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's all we try to do. And then, whether it be in the beginning for a lot of entrepreneurs who are like listening or thinking of, we have a lot of coaches who listen. In the beginning, it should be just affiliates, right? You don't have to go build out this crazy white label software or whatever, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what affiliate partnerships can I use? Or for you, right? Like, how can I get in with Zoom? And every time I refer somebody to Zoom and get a webinar license, can I get a cut of that?
Yeah.
Can I get a cut of like all the other stuff that they're going to need down the road? And then I think that the end of it is like, so we have like our agency. So that really just, like you said, it's kind of the done for you side of it things, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
separate business. So like we just get revenue over here, we get revenue on this side. And most importantly though, they get value from it. And they get to ascend. So with your students and just been building this out, what's like, and we talked about belief, but what's the biggest thing that they typically struggle with when getting all this launched?
So all of my clients right now are established. So I can't really say because I don't really have any like brand new
Yeah,
people.
but even the established ones. So, like, I mean, whenever, because obviously a lot of these people aren't doing, they're coming to you because they're not doing a great job doing with their digital traffic or
Yeah.
just with your events in general. So, like, what are the things that they typically struggle with that you help them out with?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they're struggling with is how do they actually scale their coaching program? So, because the biggest thing that they're coming, like they've done webinars, they've done challenges, they've done all of these things, and they're filling their coaching program, but they kind of hit a wall. And so now they're looking at the way, how do I actually pour the gasoline on it and really scale my coaching program? And also, a lot of them don't have sales team. So they don't want to sit there and like, how do I not have to call people and like do all these other types of marketing strategies? How do I just once or twice a year run this big event so that I can fill my coaching program? And so I think that's the biggest thing that people are coming to me for is how do I actually scale my coaching program and how do I actually do it in a way where I'm not spending all of my time because they would rather fulfill versus sell. And so that's what I find a lot of people that I'm working with really are looking for is just the scalability piece. And I think
Yeah.
events are one of the fastest way to do that.
I love it. And the thing that you mentioned too, which I think is also very important, is if I had to pick all the ways to go build a coaching program, I like the event model personally the best, right? Because when you go build a sales team, and again, we're decent at it, just hiring, training, consistent, ongoing training to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do. What I'd rather do is take the ball and put it in the hands of your best player, which is typically, you, the business owner, because you can articulate it better than anybody else. So then that's one thing. Like with us, like when we run these events, the people like the sales are so easy because it's Ryan pitching. It's the
Mm-hmm.
guy who's pitching the whole thing. And so you, the business owner, can speak to your business and your offer better than anybody else can. So it's the most scalable way to go build your business right off the
Yes.
bat.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that just reminds me of the one thing is find a lot of people, they focus on the pitch, and it's really like the moment you step on stage, that content is seeding the offer. And so I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people are like, and we were talking about 3 day versus I think 1 day. And the reason why a 3 day model when you're just starting versus a 1 day model is so important is because you have time. Like if you don't hit the pitch 100%, you have the repitch session, you have all of these sessions that you've built this belief around. So that's what I think really makes the 3 day model work versus a 1 day model, especially when you're just starting out.
What do you say to people who are like, oh, like I don't want to give away all my information and give so much value right off the bat?
Yeah. So I think that, so I was honestly thinking about this. I went and watched Deadpool the other day, and I was like watching the previews, and the previews are giving you the best snippets of the movie, right? And it's a strategy to help people actually want to go to the movie. It's the same thing with your offer. It's like give them the best pieces so that they taste it, and you want to give them value. You're meant to serve people, and so I think thinking that you're giving it away, it's just a little bit of that like insecurity that you're not confident in your deliver, like being able to deliver it. And so I would just say like, trust the process and trust that like get on stage, show them your best stuff because you want to convert them into your offer and you want them to see you as that expert. And so don't be afraid that like you're not giving everything away. It's just, but you're being strategic about what you are positioning on stage.
1,000%. And the other part of it too is just because they got all the information, they still need help implementing,
Yeah.
right? For example, we just gave everybody like the framework for the 3 day event. There's so much more that goes into it that needs to get done and needs to be done correctly in order for it to be successful. So even though like conceptually they have an idea, okay, day one I do this, day two I do this, day three I do this, like there's still a lot that goes into it, like the nuance and like what do you actually say and how do you script it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just always laugh when people bring that up. They're like, well, I
Yeah.
don't want to give away my whole offer in this course or in the event. I'm like, there's there's so much more that goes into it that you're going to be able to coach on. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, and because you're right, it's like you're teaching them the like why and the what of it. You're not teaching them the how. And the how is where the implementation starts and the action starts. And so you're really just getting them to see that the vision of it and what's possible. And then when you get them into the coaching program, it's the hand holding and the implementation. You can't give that all of that away in 3 days. It's just not enough time. That's why you've built a year-long program. Like you can't, there's just no possible way to give a whole year's worth of content in a 3 day event. So that whole belief that you're giving too much away, you're not. Like it's not possible.
100%. And so last question for you.
Okay.
If you had to leave the earth tomorrow, what's one thing you want people to know?
The one thing I want people to know is that I have a passion for mental health. And so eventually, what I want to do is create a business that can fund a fundraiser to help young women with body image and self image. And I think the other thing I want people to know is an event is a way that you can build a business to do that, to give people, like to give back. And I think that's part of creating wealth. And like some people have that objection where they're like, I feel icky around money and making money. But at the end of the day, when you do well, you can do good. And so I think the piece is that like you can create more, whenever you make more money and you can give back a lot. So you should have
It's
an event.
that's so good. And because with money's just a tool and money is an amplifier of who you already are. So if you're a bad person, before money, you'd be a worse person with money. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a good person without money, you're going to be an even better person and be able to give back and then go create the things that you want to create with the money that you have, because it's just a great resource. So I think that's a great way to end it. Kristen, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so I am active on Instagram. My Instagram is yesevents.kristen, and that's the best place to reach out to me.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.